Hi, everyone. It's Megan Ramos here with another episode of the Fasting Method podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by two incredible women. We have my lovely co-host, Dr. Nadia Pataguana, and today we have a very special guest, Lisa Chance. She's one of our expert fasting coaches at the Fasting Method, and she has a really incredible story that we're going to do a deep dive into in today's episode. So let's get started. Nadia, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Can't wait to talk to Coach Lisa. I actually have a special nickname for her, which I'm sure will come up as we speak.
All right. Well, let's get the introduction going. Lisa is an RN by training. She's got quite an extensive background in medicine, which I'm sure she'll dive into. And this way of life has been a transformation for her, both personally and professionally. So welcome to the podcast, Lisa.
Thank you, Megan and Nadia. I am so honored you asked me to do this. The only person I'm missing here is Coach Terri Lance, Dr. Terri Lance. You three women changed my metabolic health for the better. I owe you a debt of gratitude. You guys are amazing.
Well, Lisa, we always, we appreciate everybody's gratitude for the information, but it's really all of you out there that are doing the hard work. I mean, it's one thing to know the information, but, we always hear the phrase knowledge is power, but it's not. Action is power, and action leads to change. And we're really helpful to provide the knowledge, but it's you that is making it actionable, you and everyone listening. And all of your actions led to one heck of a change and really kind of gave you the power of a true superwoman. So what is your story? Let us know. Where did you start and how did you end up here today?
Well, really, you know what? I've been struggling with my weight ever since I started eating processed food in high school. After drill team, after cheerleading practice, I started using the vending machines. My mom and dad, my dad especially, was a health food nut. So luckily I had that good foundation there. But then once I started eating the sugar and the processed food, little did I know that I was really blazing a path there. Because I'm very sensitive to processed food. My allergy doctor told me, he said, Lisa, of the hundreds of people that come in, out of 100 people that come in to see me for allergies, you're 1 in 100. He said, this is from people who already have existing allergies. And I tell you, even today, I've had a lot of gut health with doing this way of living, but I still react to processed foods. To tell you the truth, I had given up. Every time I attempted to lose weight, I would lose it, but then I would gain it back and then some. And so I had given up losing weight. It's like, no, I don't want to get any fatter. At least I'm holding. Right? And I was already morbidly obese. I don't know exactly what my fat percent was, but I know it was probably high 50s, low 60%. So it was quite bad. I couldn't breathe when I walked. And I kept telling people, I decided I was going to go to Europe, going to go to Italy, walk the Cinque Terre, and come home and just give up. People would look at me with horror, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with them. And they finally said, you do realize there's a lot of walking in Europe, right? They had a point. It was like 1 a.m. in the morning. I put my mules on, my slippers on, and said, let me see if I can walk around the block. And I live in a tiny block, like 2 houses by 4 houses type of block, right? And I couldn't make it halfway around the block. I said, you have to turn around and go home. You don't have the breath to do this. So I totally got what they said. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to go to this weight loss place and just lose 30 pounds, just enough to be able to breathe when I walk. And then I'll come home and, if I gain 60, I gain 60. I've given up. I started going, and I knew as soon as I stuck to their diet plan religiously, did not lose weight, I knew what that was. Because we see that all the time. And this is what I don't understand about medical professionals. When somebody goes into their office and said, I did exactly what you said, and I'm not losing weight, and they kind of scold them or, say, oh, you must have slipped somewhere. they know, they're medical professionals. They know that a hallmark sign of not losing weight when you go down on your calories like that, that's insulin resistance. So, I mean, I knew it as soon as it happened. I went, oh, and I'm one of those people who stuck religiously to my diet, right? So I knew then. Sure enough, my hemoglobin A1C was 6.5, and I was on metformin. And Kathy Lee, I don't know if I can say her name. She said it was okay. I don't know if I can say her name. Kathy Lee, who's a member here, she did a book presentation on the obesity code. And it was pretty funny because I sat there like this with my arms crossed in front of my head, just shaking my head. No, no, no. Because as a medical professional, I know that's not the way you lose weight. But luckily, I was desperate enough to read the book, and it clicked immediately. Everything Dr. Fung said, just all the case studies that we had done through the years, all the continuing education I had, it was like, oh my God, everything he's saying is right. So I started doing it. And I was a big wuss. I was afraid to fast. So I just did time restricted eating. And I did whole food, real food. And so for the first 4 or 5 months of my journey, I lost about 50 to 60 pounds just doing TRE and switching to real food. Coach Andrea teased me about it. She's like, not many people do that. And she said, you must have had a really bad diet. And I was like, yeah, I had a really bad diet before then. I mean, Oreos are vegan, so.
It's funny, Coach Lisa, because we're pretty close. You pretty much come to most of my meetings and we work very closely together. I joked earlier that I have a nickname for you. You are our TFM's resources queen. You have a resource for every single thing. You have a wonderful library of resources that you share with our community. So we work a lot together. I'm glad that you actually mentioned Kathy Lee and that she said it was okay, because I love watching you guys together. And she's a wonderful person and a great member of our community. I think it's amazing that one of our members was able to help you come into the community. But it's crazy how in a few years, right, you got to know our program, you got to read the book, and because obviously of your medical background, you not only but reversed all of your amazing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, I hope, about your own personal health journey, but then you joined our team and are now helping so many people. So I think it's just amazing how that happened and how the two of you guys are so funny together in meetings. And you're, I know that you went through a serious health challenge that Kathy Lee was also a big part of and a big, huge support to you. So another big thank you to her for that. But so tell us a little bit about, so you read the book, and then you started doing TRE. You know, I'm a big fan of TRE. So I love to hear you reinforce how powerful TRE is, time restricted eating, and how, to me and to all of us, that's the epitome of intermittent fasting and foundation of fasting. But then you did start with some healing and therapeutic fasting as well. And so tell us more, please.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you about TRE being the Beyonce of the show, too. People ask me all the time, how did you do your 10-day fast? How did you do your back-to-back 5-day fast? How did you do this? How did you do that? And I'm like, nobody asked me, how did you do TRE, for 4 or 5 months? And I mean, to me, that was very beneficial because it really set that foundation, that habit down for me. And I know Brett Scher with Diet Doctor talks about how he thinks people should do TRE for 6 weeks. Build that foundation first before and start working on the snacking and the eating and the real food stuff. And I tend to agree with that. I mean, I did it because I was afraid. I was one of those people Dr. Fung talks about, you don't have a muffin at night, you're going to die in your sleep. And I didn't. But all of my journey was really gradual. I have a meme that I put behind me sometimes. It says I snailed it. And I did. I took very baby steps each time. I was afraid to fast. I wanted to do 24. I would do one every once in a while. And, just like I'd like notify everybody, like in case I passed out at night. Then I watched a video of Dr. Fung's, a YouTube video where he was talking about the different pathways of autophagy and that you actually start eating the misfolded protein, which is your skin, at about 36 hours. And I quickly jumped to 36 hours from not barely doing 24s to doing 36s because I wanted that benefit of not having loose skin. And I don't think I have much. I mean, I'm old. I'm 66 years old. I started this when I was 62, but I think, I have crepey skin, but I don't have a lot of loose skin. So it worked for me.
Okay, so let's jump into that because this is your own journey and your own story. You probably don't think it's as amazing as we think that it is, but it's pretty amazing. So summarize it for us. How much weight, not that it's about the scale. We talk a lot in our program about how this is so much more about body composition and fat burning and reversing your health concerns. But let's just get it out there because I know people are dying to know. How much weight have you lost in the last 4 years and kept off? This is the most important part. And I do want to talk a little bit about that, Lisa.
Well, some of it was weight that I had lost. And I talked to Rachel about this. She's somebody who works behind the scenes. And I said, well, I've only lost about 130 with PFM, but I've kept off more.
Wait. You only lost 130 pounds fasting. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. And?
But so I've kept off about 160. And I think that's important is I kept off that other amount. And it could have even been more. You get to a point when you're that morbidly obese that you quit weighing. Some scales won't weigh over 300. So you quit weighing. I think going by size would probably help you. I'm 5'3", and I was wearing a size 24 to 26. And I am now wearing a size 10 to size 12.
Wow.
My waist has gone down probably, I didn't measure it at the beginning. That I would highly recommend you measure your waist. My waist has probably gone down about 22 inches. Well, my waist is now the size what my aunt's was. I've lost that amount. I should say I've lost the amount of inches that her waist was. But what's really amazing, I think what you say, Nadia, all the time, which is we trick people. They come in for the weight loss. They stay for the health. I mean, you say that over and over again, and it's so true. I've had so many health changes that I attributed to old age, and they weren't. I did a list in our community forum of unexpected benefits of fasting, and I put it by the system, the different body systems, and I just can't believe it. I get a lot of migraines all my life, and it has practically eliminated my migraines. Now, when I take a migraine medication, it's more effective too. It's quicker onset and a longer duration. I used to get cluster migraines, so I'd have migraines for 3 days in a row, 2 or 3 days in a row. Now, migraine lasts me as long as the medication puts me down. Medication usually puts me down for 4 hours. I sleep it off. I wake up. I don't get it back. It's amazing. I'm no longer doing the commode hugging, throwing up into the toilet anymore. So it's helped immensely with that. So being in a low level of nutritional ketosis with my basically plant-based lifestyle has kept the migraines at bay. It's very neuroprotective.
Okay, and that's part of why I call you our resources queen. So you created this amazing NSV, non-scale victory list for our community, especially for people starting off, for things to look forward to in their healing journey. So you started off with listing off your own. That list, I know it's endless, but how many items do you already have on that list? And how many of those items have you reversed yourself?
I don't know how many are on the list. I haven't counted them, but one of my favorite ones was when I was in the hospital. I broke my ankle quite severely in September of 2020. And, right in the middle of COVID, that was a good time and it was quite a severe break. It was actually what they call a pilar fracture. I broke every bone in my foot. I broke the 2 major bones in the leg. The doctor said he'd never seen anything like it unless it was a skydiving accident or a car impact. And I was a little bit worried, to be honest. I didn't know if what I had been doing had caused osteoporosis. I mean, You hear Megan say it helps with osteoporosis, but it's different when you're, like, what did I do? Right. And he said, no, definitely. There's nothing wrong with my bones. My bones are strong. He said, you're strong. You're very strong. And that's why you broke your ankle. So thank God for Megan, because she helped me through all of that. Because of my migraines, I could not take the pain medication. Hydrocodone is a vasodilator, and you don't want a vasodilator when you have a migraine. That makes it worse. You want a vasoconstrictor, and they just don't sell the Demerol anymore. They don't give it much anymore because it has so many side effects. That was, my drug of choice for migraines. So here they are giving me something, and sure enough, they gave me morphine in the ER, and then they sent me home with the Vicodin, and I got rip-roaring sick on it. Just, the whole vomiting, the whole thing. And I didn't know what to do, and I talked to Megan. I said, what do I want? Do I want this terrible pain in my leg? Or do I want a migraine? I can't make it to the toilet even to throw up because I'm in a cast up to my hip. And she had Coach Larry Diamond, send me all these slides that she had done for a preparation for professional athletes on how fasting helps with pain management. And I started fasting. And I fasted and fasted. And I finally broke my fast, I think, after 5 days. And the pain came roaring back, by the way, when I broke the fast. And then I, started fasting again before my doctor's visit. And the doctor said, when I got there, I was expecting, because the edema had really gone down, and, I thought he was going to pat me on the back. And instead, he scolded me. He was very unhappy with me. And he said, this is not acceptable. You got to get that leg up higher. You didn't do X, Y, and Z. And I felt so dejected. And Kathy took me to my next doctor's appointment. I had to get a complete physical because of my age. And I was so dejected. And while we're waiting to go into, she's getting the wheelchair out of the back of the car. While we're waiting to go in, the phone rings. And the doctor says, get back here now. And I'm like, what? And he's like, your bone is dislocated still. We did not set it correctly. That's why you have so much edema and so much pain.
So then his attitude had changed. Instead of scolding me for not elevating my leg, he was wondering how I managed to tolerate the pain. The answer, of course, was the production of ketones while I'm fasting.
So then they tried to reset the bone with no pain medication. And luckily I was still fasting, and I was tapping through the whole thing. The tapping helped. And they couldn't reset the bones, I should say, plural, bones. And so I had to be rushed to the hospital, where I did a lot of waiting. And luckily, I was able to wait 3 days because they kept postponing me. So I went into my first surgery, 72 hours fasted, which is what I wanted. And it was amazing. It really was. And the doctors were surprised. The nurses were surprised at how well and quickly I healed, especially at my age. I couldn't have done it without Megan. I mean, there's a lot to be said for having, somebody. I mean, I had so much faith. Luckily, I knew enough about this way of life and I already had so many of those benefits that I listed in the different systems that I felt absolutely sure I was doing the right thing. And so I fasted 72 hours both times before both surgeries. Anesthesiologist loved it. The surgeon really didn't care. Now, he likes the way my incisions look and my healing looks, but I gave him a copy of the book, but I'm sure he didn't read it. But the anesthesiologist, he was very interested. And I had a couple of other doctors sit down and ask me questions about it. 2 doctors specifically sat down and said, I don't understand. How can you have such a good GFR, glomerular filtration rate, at your age and doing this? And I'm like, you do know Dr. Fung's a kidney doctor, right? He wouldn't suggest something that you shouldn't do.
I got to cut in and say something, Coach Lisa, because we can see you, right? Our friends and listeners can only hear us, but we can see you. It's amazing to me how emotional I can tell that you are telling your story. It seems like because you're so good at doing meetings, but it's amazing how emotional you still are detailing your story because, of course, this is personal for most of us. Most of us have had our own, serious health concerns reversed, and you're still so emotional, detailing your story. And of course, I can see how grateful you are to Megan, and really, it's really touching. I didn't think you were going to get this emotional telling your story, but you're right. It's a lot. It's a lot that you've gone through. It's a lot of amazing health improvements. I don't remember if you told us already today what your A1C was. I don't know if you mentioned any other health concerns that you've been able to reverse in the last 4 years. It's been 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, my hemoglobin A1C is 5 now. So down from 6.5 to 5, and I'm off the metformin on that.
You can't even look at photos of you from, I don't even know how many years ago. You look 20, 30 years older than you did in these photos. I don't even recognize you. So we made reference to this woman, Rachel, a few times. She's our behind the scenes wizard. We could not do anything without this woman. She helped Jason and I get started in the clinic on day one. Anyways, she's just amazing. So special shout out to her. But Rachel, I guess like a year ago now, I don't even know when, we've had a lot of growth in the last year. And so there's been website adjustments, platform changes. And she sent me year before photos for something that we were doing at some point during this growth. And I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, who is this person? And Rachel's like, us, Lisa. And I was like, no way. No, it is just unbelievable, And so if that's how much healing is happening on the outside, and if that's how much autophagy you can see on the outside, just the incredible healing that must be going on the inside. And so I met you in a pretty healthy state during COVID. You had crushed the weight loss. You had crushed the diabetes. I mean, you were thriving while navigating the migraines at that time. I think you were really starting to sort of connect the dots together on your own, and were asking us sort of the right questions from your own research to help navigate you. And then you had this crazy leg fracture. And for someone, I've worked with pro athletes that are in their early 20s that go through sort of similar traumatic types of injuries, go through similar surgeries. I mean, it is difficult they're younger. They live a different lifestyle than us. I know it is their livelihood. So there is some incentive to follow the recommendations, but it's difficult. I get it. How I ate in my 20s is very different than, how I eat now going into my late 30s, and how I prioritize care. But I have never, I'm talking high performance professional athletes paid hundreds of millions of dollars that are in their 20s. I've never seen anyone recover like the way you have recovered. You recovered like a teenager, a healthy, active teenager, a high performance Olympian.
That's what my physical therapist and my doctor, they couldn't believe it. And my doctor's physician assistant, she's like, Lisa, we're going to make you the poster child. We've got a 26-year-old down the hall that is non-compliant, won't do anything. Would you go down and talk to him? And I mean, I actually have 2 very close friends who said to me, Lisa, with this severity of this accident, if you had done it 4 years earlier, you would not have been able to mentally handle it as well as you did through this. It made me realize that fasting has given me mental resiliency. I mean, it really, really has. It has made me mentally stronger, emotionally stronger. And I think that's a huge benefit to it. One of my favorite non-scale victories was when I was getting a physical. And, I used to be in cardiology. So was the echo tech, the echocardiogram tech came in to the hospital. And I'm sitting there with my hair on top of my head, and I still have a muffin top, So when I'm laying in the bed like that, it still looks like I'm a little fat. So he didn't, he just said, "I'm here, blah blah blah," and he sat down and he starts doing the echo, and he stops and he does this neck pivot, and he zeroes in on me with his eyes, and he's like, "You have a beautiful heart." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. You have absolutely no fat around your heart." And I said, "Can you do the other organs while you're at it?" But no, I mean, that kind of thing, that's what's uplifting, to know that I've gotten the fountain of youth, I used to have to do the whole pulmonary toilet when I got in the shower, hack, sneeze, hot, clear everything out. All of that congestion is gone. Plantar fasciitis is gone. Acid reflux is gone. My hair used to be like straw.
Yay, we get to talk about Coach Lisa's hair. We were talking about this forever in one of our meetings. When you said your favorite NSV, I thought you were going to say my beautiful hair. But anyway, go on, Coach Lisa.
Well, that brings a good question up. Why do we always hear that being in ketosis is dangerous? A lot of people say, "Oh, you eat keto." And I'm like, I don't eat keto. I eat basically, mostly plant-based. I do eat some meat, some fish, mostly fish. I live ketogenically, meaning that I fast enough to stay in a low level of nutritional ketosis. All these things are signs of health. Your skin clearing up. I used to have a really bad rosacea. I used to have to wear face makeup and cover it up. Skin health. My eyes are clearer. My dark circles under my eyes are receding. My hair is soft. My joints don't ache. All of those things are signs of health. Why do they say living ketogenically is unhealthy for you? I don't get it.
Good question. I don't get it either. Well, one thing is for sure. One thing that you said today basically summarizes a whole lot of your journey, which is you have found the fountain of youth. It's really nice to hear that, this technician said how beautiful your organs look. So it's nice to know that you look as good on the inside as you do on the outside. Because Coach Lisa, I know I'm always joking about your hair, but you look amazing. You are the picture of health. No doubt about it. I know for sure. I'm glad. Thank you for walking us through a bit of your NSV, non-scale victories, a bit, because I know there's a lot more. But I know Megan and I want to talk to you about your work at TFM. So I'll throw it over to Megan to tell us how you found this gem and how and how you added her to our team.
So Lisa's fasting journey definitely began before her and I really connected. So COVID, there's so many horrific things and so many beautiful silver linings. And it's funny, about a month before COVID, like before anyone was talking about it anywhere in the world, I said to my husband, I was like, I don't want to travel for a year. I'm just so sick of traveling. I was on the road nonstop. I was never home. I'm like, I don't know why we have this stupid expensive house. I don't even live here. I just come home and change my suitcase. And and then the next month they started talking about COVID in China, COVID in California, and you just knew as a scientist that it was coming for you at the speed of light, and the world was going to change, and I was not going to be traveling for a year. So for the first time in a long time, I've been grounded, and I really immersed myself in our online fasting method community. My heart broke for these people, because if COVID happened a decade or so earlier and I was locked at home, I would have ate my emotions. I would have had a heart attack, and I would have died from that at that stage with that much insulin resistance. Forget the damn pandemic, like the virus itself, that would have killed me. So, I knew where I was in my journey, and I knew that I could thrive with my diet to protect myself from COVID. But what about all of these people that we serve? Gosh, they need help. So I dove in head first, 1,000 feet deep, into the pandemic, and Lisa went from being a community member whose name I would see here and there in the forum to being a friend. And then I saw her horrific journey with her ankle and her dedication and all of the knowledge, everything she applied to having this mind-blowing, like from someone, again, who's worked with this for so long, just mind-blowing transformation. And I saw how much she was supporting other people and how much other people were learning from her journey as she was going through recovery. And I'm like, well, dang, she needs to be part of our team here. Here, I need to somehow convince her to re-enter the workforce and to help all of these other people. And Lisa, in the true spirit of everybody on our team, first and foremost, everybody's there to help serve and to spread the knowledge that transformed their life in some respect. And so this is not a job for so many of us. There's job aspects of it that I'm sure are definitely important to even myself and the rest of our team, but that's not why we're all here in the first place. It's to really help as many people experience the same transformation that we had by whatever knowledge we can help share with them. And one of the other things that you need to be in order to join the team is a continual learner throughout your life. Your education never stops. And Lisa constantly demonstrated that she embodied everything about all of us, Jason, myself, our entire team. So I was desperate to have her on our team, and luckily didn't have to twist any of her arms. I went to shoot. I mean, she was recovering as it was, and she hopped on our team. So Lisa, you work in our team as a coach in a few capacities. So in our community, you host these large group meetings where you give these incredible presentations all of the time. You do a monthly Q&A with Dr. Fung, digging into our community's top burning questions that they want to ask their fasting guru. You also give additional Q&A presentations of your own. And then you do coaching, small group, and then some one-on-one coaching as well. So each individual on their team has a different character and a different role within the team. It's kind of funny, and combined, we all make this kind of mega system. But we each have this sort of unique spirit and unique area of interest. So I was wondering if you could go into, what makes Coach Lisa tick? When you're gearing up to do one of these bazillion presentations that you do a month, what is directing you? Oh, you also do our book club. This is like huge. You lead our monthly book club every month. So how are you picking this information? What makes you tick? And what is the information that Coach Lisa is sharing the most of?
Well, I'm kind of, I like to blend. You know what I mean? I'm kind of a bit of a jack of all trades. I get so much out of all the different coaches, and I love having book club because I get asked, what book would you like to read? The different coaches, I get final say so. Thank you for that. I love to read. I almost always do a presentation on plant-based, and we're probably the smallest group, right? One of the smallest groups. But I'm like, it's so nice because I have no fear that you're going to cancel it, because I know it's making this small group of people very happy. And so I usually, for that, I usually do herbs, talk, because I have an herb garden. So we talk about how healthy, real food, whole food, unprocessed food is. So we go into all the health benefits of all of those. And then I also do diabetes, just because, we had so many diabetic patients in cardiac. So I almost always do a presentation in my diabetes group. And it's interesting to see that one, they are growing, and both of those groups, just, I think, because people are like, well, we know Lisa's going to do a presentation, so let's just jump in. And they're a little more informal. They're smaller groups. Well, as a coach, Coach Nadia's got these 70 and 80 members in their group. Everybody loves Coach Terri and Coach Nadia. They're like, but I like my little niche, my little group of people. What I usually do in book club is I do a slide presentation for a kind of like the Cliff Notes. I forgot what they're called in Canada. They're called something else. The little quick notes on the book. And then at the end of each chapter, we have discussion. And That's always interesting because, I try to switch those books up. I actually use Nadia's 5 pillars for those books because it's all of her 5 pillars it's all about the insulin. So I'm like, okay, which pillar am I going to pick? And this month, of course, I'm doing stress. So we're doing the stress-proof brain. But, one of my favorite ones was self-compassion. That book I took 2 months to do that just because I didn't want to rush through the book. And so Megan gives me the freedom to pretty much choose which book I want. So I appreciate that. And Megan, I have to say that you have really built a community here. I was struggling this week with a little bit of stress and I had gained a little bit of weight. Community members came forward and gave me so much encouragement and so much help. Well, and it reminds me of that quote by Ram Dass, we're all just walking each other home. You've created that, Megan. Thank you for that gift of a safe place and where I can find like-minded people.
I think the community, we started it with the intention that it was going to be like what I wish I had. So I am actually a hugely introverted person. I'm a lot less awkward on a stage in front of 800 people than I am in a group of like 3 people. I am largely introverted. I don't like help with anything. I like to read, maybe listen if I have to, but prefer to read and do everything alone. You would think I was like an only child or something that was raised by wolves, just by the way I like to navigate my life. When I was diabetic, I was terrified. Sure, I had Jason. Jason hadn't been a 27-year-old type 2 diabetic who is struggling with obesity. He could definitely sympathize with all of his patients. But to be in my shoes and not know one other person and trying to radically change my diet when all of my friends thought that fast food was real food and that drinking sugary drinks was something that you should go wild with in your 20s, I had no support. My parents labeled me as an eating disorder till they fortunately got too busy with something else and stopped paying attention to me. And it was terrifying. And I realized for the first time in my life that I needed people that were going through this. And we did start out first in our clinic in Toronto while I was still going through my journey. We started seeing patients and they became my community. And everyone would always say, oh, you've sustained this for so long. And I'm like, I sustained it because of you. Like you guys think that I'm helping you, you're helping me. And in turn that helps. Like it's all one big system. I'm like, we are a community and I would be dead if it wasn't for that community of patients. Like, I don't know if I could have done this by myself for the long run, especially in the environment. Like I avoided going to a gas station, like inside a gas store at a gas station for an entire year. I only would go through drive-throughs to get tea. I wouldn't go inside. I didn't have that control and I didn't have that support until I had my patients. And I was like, well, dang, this independent lone wolf, she needs a community to thrive. And eventually there were just so many people that wanted help with fasting. It was just like, no, we've got to build a community, because what I would then see too with a lot of the people that we'd serve, they'd come in. We used to see people in small groups only back then, and they would all thrive off of one another. And then they go back to reality. They would leave that supportive community and they would re-enter their local communities or family communities, and everything would kind of fall apart till their next appointment. And we wanted a place for them to go where they didn't fall apart in between their appointments, where they could get that community and that support in between. I had it every day. I had it every single day from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. at work with the patients and the online people. So everyone needed that type of access. And that's how the community came about. And a silver lining of COVID was really to see it thrive. And people who were like me, who wouldn't have leaned into communities, realizing that they needed to lean into one for the support. So it has become a really special place. And Lisa, honestly, it's such a special place largely because of you. So, we're so appreciative of you at the Fasting Method. I don't know where we'd be today without you. Everyone on our team is so important and has joined us at such a critical time. And you are no different. We are so fortunate. As we wrap up this episode, I always like to ask guests if we have time left. Apologies to guests who we haven't done this with, for their top tip for somebody who's just starting out on this journey or might be struggling along this journey. So what words of wisdom? Nadia and I think you have miles worth of words of wisdom, but what would you say your top words of wisdom are for these individuals?
Trust the process. I mean, for me, it was my trust in you, Megan, got me through. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, realize that the insulin beast may have a hold of you. Nadia talks about that all the time. And that it's not my fault. This way of life has given me the ability to say it's not some character defect that I have. It's not some flaw. It's the insulin that's up. Get the insulin down. If insulin and willpower are opposite each other on the teeter-totter, get that insulin down and your willpower is going to go up. It's amazing. So yes, my number one fasting tip would be to eat real food. Because if you eat real food, less processed food, it's going to make it easier for you to fast. Keep picking yourself up and dusting. I did it slow. Very slow, little baby steps. Oh, you can do it too.
I think you're brilliant, Coach Lisa. I am so touched by how emotional you got today because I don't get to see this part of you all the time. And I definitely want to thank you for all your help and support. You talked about my large groups. I think they come only because they know you're going to be there. So thank you.
You helped me so much with plating. That's another story. You'll have to have me back. I'll invite myself back.
Part 2.
How you helped me with plating. And I didn't think, I'm like, that's not going to work. I'm doing that again, right? That voice in my head, that's not going to work.
We actually need to do a hot topic on plating. So for those of you who are listening, this is something Nadia and I have bonded over since day one. Nadia's really took it the full way with the community and is one of the most helpful strategies that perhaps we don't talk about enough. So I'd love to have Lisa. This is exactly what happened at the end of our first episode with Terri, Dr. Lance. We're like, well, we're going to have you back because this just came up at 11 hours.
Plating keeps evolving, doesn't it, Nadia? It keeps evolving and evolving. That's what's so neat about it. It's like, ooh, it's taken on a life of its own. You guys, you're so wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for saving my life. Really.
We love you, Lisa.
Yeah, we love you. People always reach out and they're like, how can we help? And it's, do the hard work, give yourself power by taking action, and you're just going to inspire so many other people. And you have in the hospital, you have within your own community over there, deep into the East Bay. One of these days, we're going to have to meet up somewhere. And now within the Fasting Method community. So it's crazy how one person can then go on to change so many lives. I mean, if you can convince one doctor, you have now impacted the lives of potentially like thousands, like 3,000, 5,000 patients. So Lisa, thank you for spreading the light and helping us do so at the Fasting Method. And we will get you back for part 2.
I know your husband likes Star Wars, and I was watching a movie the other night and I thought of him and I thought of what they were saying. And I said, you know what? That's what fasting is. Fasting is my creed, right? You can tell you
just share that with them. I'm stuck watching Obi-Wan Kenobi every Wednesday morning right now. So I'll make sure to share that with them. I think we're backlogged from yesterday's episode. Well, Lisa, thank you again so much. Nadia and I will be back next week with another episode of the Fasting Method podcast. And well, happy fasting, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.